I call this meeting to order. Please stand and join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good morning to everyone on this November 21st, 2023 morning meeting of the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners. With that, we'll move right into our agenda, and I would be open to a motion to approve the regular meeting proposed agenda. I've been notified of no changes.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Halls,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danielowski. Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. Moving on to the consent agenda, item number 2. There's been a request to table item number 6. We've got a different financial situation with that, a lower financial situation, so that'll come.
Another quote that came in that was lower, so I want to table it to the next meeting.
So we'll table that item number 6 to the next meeting. I've been notified of no other changes, so I would be open to a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Gray,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Felber. Commissioner Danielowski. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. Item number 3, that of our open forum. Ms. Keisha Broderick.
Madam Chair, we have one person signed up. We have Kari Watkins of Haven Township speaking on observing the count.
Okay, great. Morning, Kari.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. In the last legislative session, many election laws were added, changed, or eliminated. One of the laws that remained is 204C.19 Counting Votes Penalty, Subdivision 1 Procedure. When the hours for voting have ended and all voting has concluded, the election judges shall immediately count the votes cast at the election. The count shall be held at the polling place and shall be public. It shall be continued without intermission until it is completed and the results are declared, except that the election judges may recess for meals or other necessary purposes. During the count, no one except the election judges shall handle the ballots. Any other individual who touches or interferes with the ballots during the counting, or any election judge who permits such touching or interference, is guilty of a misdemeanor. Now I ask you, how is the counting of the vote public when it is done inside of a machine? How can you see how the vote was attributed? Is there really any transparency in this method? Or is there transparency when you can observe teams working together to hand count the votes, making sure that every vote is counted accurately, rather than efficiently? Although I argue that hand counting can be done efficiently, after all, countries like France and more recently Argentina hand counted over 30 million ballots that same day after the polls closed. Last meeting, I told you about my experience of training on a method of hand counting votes on paper ballots. It was simple, accurate, efficient, and would bring people of opposite philosophies working together for a transparent and accurate election. Think about it. We are America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. We can do this. Thank you.
Thanks, Kari. Any others? I believe that's it. So we will move on to agenda item number 4, that of announcements. Administrator Messelt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Just a few short announcements, more kind of a calendar call. Just a reminder of things coming up, so we're all thinking along the same line. First is a reminder on November 30th, so a week after Thanksgiving, we have an evening meeting for Truth and Taxation. It's at 6 p.m. and it will be here in the boardroom. I also handed out for you information from Wright County's statement, and I'll collect a few others for you so that you have ability to respond to comments before and, if necessary, during the meeting there. Also note that then following that, on December 4th through the 6th, we have the AMC Annual Conference. If you have any changes in your schedule or itinerary, if you'd like Keisha and me know, so we can monitor and track those. In addition, we are collecting for the county basket this year for the raffle. And Keisha and I decided we'd try to do it a little differently. So my challenge is I would request that each of you from your district get me at least one item to put in the county basket. And if you could bring it by the Truth and Taxation meeting, but if not, I'll hunt you down before AMC. So you can do anything you'd like. Last year we did some adult refreshments in our basket, but we thought it'd be more creative this year. So it can be anything you'd like. You know, my suggestion would be in that $20 to $25 range. So if we put together a nice basket, then it'll be from Sherburne County. But we thought that would be at least a decent challenge for you all to see what you can come up with. Any questions on that then? I'll get the basket and do the wrapping and all that if you get the items.
Just one item?
Well, you can do a couple more, that's fine. Just, you don't have to go overboard. Typically, the baskets that are raffled are in that $100 range, so. But it'd be a lot of fun to see what you can come up with, because we rack our brain every year, and we'd like some creativity, and we thought, well, what more creative group than you, so. Also then, a note, the December 8th then, so after we get back, we have our December 7th board meeting. That's that Thursday, so that's a regular time at 9 a.m. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, AMC. Thursday is our board meeting. December 8th is the holiday luncheon. So we want you here all week that week, in other words, between AMC, board meeting, and then the holiday luncheon. There's 2 seatings for the luncheon, and I think Keisha sent out the information, but if you just let us know which seating. We're also taking volunteers for the choir. So I hear some of you have some really good voices, and a few of you can even sing with those voices. So if you'd like to join, if you'd let me know or Jake in IT know, Jake is organizing it this year. So we'll do some holiday singing around the building and then at the luncheon at both seatings. And then finally, looking a little bit beyond the calendar year, just because it's so difficult to get things organized, reminder, the NACO NACO DC Legislative Summit is February 9th through the 14th. If you would confirm your travel plans with Keisha, specifically if you want us to get airline tickets or if you're going to get your own. And also, we did a block reservation for rooms just to verify if you're going to stay longer or shorter so we can make those final adjustments. Keisha, did you want anything else on that?
That was everything.
All right. So that's it for announcements at this time.
Any other announcements from the board? And I know a number of us on the dais are double booked for many of those things. So the holiday party is, I have a challenge with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, so I already let staff here know that I will not be able to join you, and it's one of my saddest things to miss, so.
Well, we could do a recording of you singing and then you could join us.
Not like this. And then the one other announcement, you all got invited to the NACO board meeting. The NACO board is gathering in St. Paul from the 30th to the 2nd. Mary Jo invited all of the commissioners from the state to that. I serve on that board, so you're welcome to join us for some of that or all of it. The board meeting, everything, all the activities are free for you. You would be responsible for your own lodging and transportation. So let me know if you're going to be down there. So I'll look for you. Any other announcements?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that Sherburne County has been asked to participate in a panel discussion on housing down at the AMC conference that Sunday at 5 o'clock in the Grand Ballroom. And so looking forward to that. It was originally going to be Jessica Bartle, but she had a conflict. So now it's going to be Mark Schneider who's going to participate in that.
Great.
We're going to talk about our housing summit and such, so Looking forward to that.
That'll be Sunday afternoon or?
5 o'clock in the
5
Grand
o'clock.
Ballroom.
Great, 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 great. We've got a few things going on at the AMC conference with also Gina and myself and our tribal nations will be presenting about our park. So stay tuned for that or look that up and come and join us.
And then I should just add on that, we did also put in for possible AMC awards this year. We did not receive one from AMC, but on the December 19th board meeting, if you're amenable, we will be awarded the Blazing Star Award for our parks work. It's from Minnesota Conservation, and it's one of the top state awards. So congratulations to Gina and company, and also to Jessica, who helped put that together. So I don't know if that'll be recognized at AMC. It's part of it. There was a relationship between the awards, but we're really excited about that. So we'll plan on having that at the dais here on the 19th.
Great. Anything else? Okay, then we will move on to our regular agenda. We're a little ahead of ourselves, but we'll take it. And we are now going to receive an annual update from Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. So I invite Ms. Barb Chafee to the podium, and if you could introduce yourself and your staff, that would be great.
I certainly will. In fact, they will be introducing themselves as we go along.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and guests. My name is Barbara Chafee, and I'm the CEO for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, serving 11 counties, including Sherburne County, which is my home county, and I've lived here since probably I can't remember. It's been many, many years, so love this county. My staff and I are honored to present to you today and answer any of your questions that you may have during our presentation. Well, year 2023 actually marks our 39th year together as partners in workforce development, supporting members of Sherburne County looking for work and local employers in need of qualified workers. CMJTS serves youth, adults, dislocated workers, public assistant clients, veterans, diverse populations, local businesses, and much, much more. Today you will hear a client success story from Sherburne County and the impact and success of our great partnership and the services we provide. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one, see if I can do this right. Yes, I did. Whoops. Okay. Our agenda is really threefold in that under federal law and state statute, I'm responsible to bring you the annual fiscal audit, so I will be doing that. Clifton Larson Allen is our independent auditors, and so they're already in the process of doing next year's. The annual program performance report is in the right-hand side of the black folder that I put on your desk. And you can see that, and I can pull it out. It's actually a trifold, and it can read that at your reading pleasure, at your time. And then I will be presenting the 2023-24 commercial insurances that I bring with me all the time. And then if you look on the right-hand side, you're going to see the county demographics. And it looks like this. And since 2003, this board has asked me to make sure that I bring this because it's completed by DEED regional analyst Luke Reiner. And the data here, you can just take it with you when you go to all of your other meetings. So your information and your data is right here. And if you take a look at this, even the first page, and I'll quickly go over this, but it says, what is the largest population that you have, which was not surprising to me because I live here, but it is the 5 to 14-year-olds. They have the largest percent, which means that you've got some pretty young people here. And if you look down, you're going to see that the 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 are 14.2% of the population. So we have a young population here. It's older folks like me that are at that maybe 2% or 1% or 7%. So, you know, this is a really good information, and I'm always glad when you ask me and I get Luke to do that. Now, anytime you want more information, you just, you know, Lisa knows that you can just call Luke, and he will come here. Either he'll come here in person or he'll come here online. Anything that you need for any of your committees, he will make sure that you do that. It's free for you, and any kind of information that you need. So please reach out if you need that. Okay, next. Well, and then the last thing here is that the most important thing is really what's happening right here in Sherburne County, and you're going to hear that from my staff. If I got this right. All right. Up. It's not working for me. Okay. Try it again. There we go. Oops. Almost. I hit it too much now. Oh, I'm getting there. Okay. Well, in 2023, in a historical event happened with our Joint Powers Board. As you can see, there was 8 out of 11 county commissioners that changed positions. That is unheard of. It's never happened in my 24 years. One person maybe retired, 2 people, but never, ever have I ever seen this turnover. Luckily, 3 people stayed, and they are the chair of the board, who is Chisago County Commissioner Rick Green, who's been with us for 16 years, Vice Chair Sherburne County Commissioner Lisa Foby, who's been with us for 6 years, and Secretary Isanti County Commissioner Mike Waring for 12 years. If you take a look at Kanabec County, Candiota County, McLeod, Meeker, Mille Lacs, Pine, Renville, and Wright counties, you see a 1 after their name. They have not even completed their first year yet. So that leads us to something that I'll go over in a few minutes. But I want to just pause for one moment to thank the Sherburne County Board for appointing Commissioner Lisa Foby to the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services Joint Powers Board. Commissioner Foby began at CMJTS Joint Powers Board as a Joint Powers Board member in January of 2017. She was quickly elected as Vice Chair of the Joint Powers Board in March of 21. As a Joint Powers Board officer, Commissioner Foby also became a member of the Workforce Development Board and the Region 3 Leadership and Planning Board, which also includes Stearns and Benton, because under federal law, we had to merge with one other county, so we have merged with Sherburne and Stearns and Benton County to make us 11 counties. So that's another extra board. Also, as a member of the Workforce Development Board, the Community and Government Relations Committee, Lisa Foby is also selected to be on that one. It's called the CGR Committee. And Commissioner Foby facilitated the committee's Wellness in the Workplace virtual event on September 30th, 2022, followed by facilitation of the Committee for Suicide Prevention Training virtual event, which was this past September 23. Hundreds of people attended those, and they gave us such a good back. You know, they said how amazing, what an amazing speaker we have, and so we're very proud to have her on our board. Next, Lisa Foby was elected as co-chair of the CGR committee, and she will be facilitating the CMJTS celebration breakfast on December 8th. And that's what she was talking about. We had to twist her arm because I know that there was a conflict there, but she is doing that, and we thank her for that. Commissioner Foby also resides on over 22 county boards, and we were just talking to Commissioner Gray about that. what people don't understand, and I hope everybody's listening to this from all over the county, is that this just isn't a board here. It's all the boards and all the communities that you serve and being on these committees. So I celebrate and congratulate Commissioner Phobie as the chair of the Minnesota Association of Counties, just one of those things that she chairs, because to me, this is really impressive. So congratulations. Commissioner Phobie, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, the Joint Powers Board, and Workforce Development Board are honored to have you on our board, serving in an 11-county area. Special thanks for your outstanding leadership and support over the past 6 years of your service. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Barb.
Lots of new people. We have lots of training that we've had to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting new board. If you look at the entire board is new, except for the 3 officers, so.
Let me see if I got that right. Okay. Well, we had to start training, and we had to start training quickly. So we did the light training. The heavy training is coming up this next year. We started out with the legal duties of WIOA. Now, WIOA is called the Workforce Innovations and Opportunity Act, and whenever I say WIOA, this is federal funds. We also looked at the roles of the chief elected officials, which is the Joint Powers Board. And this one is something coming up, and that's the board agreement. That'll be next March. And then we looked at the composition of the board, because one county commissioner is appointed by each of the 11 counties. And this is the only board that can have an alternate, the only board, because it's called Joint Powers. Remember that name, Powers Board. So if Commissioner Phobie is unable to come at a meeting, you want to have a voice on that board. So, you know, she can, or this board can appoint an alternate who can come in Lisa's commissioner's space. Then the Joint Powers Board actually meets on March, June, September, and December. But, however, if you become a chair, a vice chair, or a secretary on the Joint Powers Board, you automatically become an officer on the Workforce Development Board, which meets monthly, except for August, and we go up north for a summer meeting. So the next thing is that I decided we better do something fun. So we took a look at the history of workforce development. And at that point, I thought we were 161 years old, but then I got corrected, and we are 172, going on 173 years. So we had 42 slides of lots of fun, and I'll show you one of them. I tried to pick out the one that was pretty, you know, anyway, not as fun as some of the other ones. But I also like to, on behalf of my staff, they would absolutely welcome the opportunity to attend a county commissioner's scheduled work group, you know, so that we can, you know, we're only here for a few minutes. You don't even have any clue of all the things that we do in the community. So we would like to be able to come, and so my staff can tell you all of the great things that we do. So businesses, you know, and everything. So we would love to do that at some point. This is one of the quizzes that I had. It says, what workforce development program was established in 1933 and still exists today? It's the only one that does. And then, of course, there was one person on our board that actually is still under this program. And it is Wagner Pizer, or Job Service. And it was Franklin D. Roosevelt that in 1933 actually designed it and developed it, and we've continued throughout all these years. This is the map for those of you that are new to this. We are the greenish-grayish area, and it says LWDA 5, and that's Local Workforce Development Area 5. And when you see RWDA 3, we're Region 3 as well, because this is our 11 counties and 2 counties for Stearns-Benton altogether. And we wrap around the metro area, that's the blue area, northwest and southwest, so we have quite a ways to travel. On the right-hand side, you're going to see some of our centers. We have more centers in a lot of areas. Some only have one. We have Cambridge Hutchinson, which is in Ridgewater College, and then Monticello, which serves right in Sherburne, and they are the comprehensive center, and we're also the corporate office. The other centers are Litchfield, Malacca, Mora, North Branch, Pine City, Wilmer, again in Ridgewater College, and then some specialized centers in Olivia and Sandstone. This is in your right-hand packet that I mentioned. It's the trifold, and I'm not going to spend any time with that. Here's some of my exec staff, and we have a brand-new finance director. Her picture isn't in here yet, so I'm going to keep on moving. So in December of each year, the Joint Powers Board reviews the annual fiscal audit. Of course, it's done by Clifton, Larson, and Allen. We're going to go through that shortly. It's actually in the left-hand packet of your folder, and because I can't read it once it's because it's so small in my next slide. So what do they normally review? They select either the federal programs or state programs. This year that you're looking at is the federal programs. They look at the designated case files. They look at the internal controls manual, which has to be updated, and we have to be utilizing it correctly, otherwise we can get a notice on that. And then they look at the cost categories, the budgets, and the laws that govern them. If you can imagine, we have lots of laws. We have like 90 grants, and they all have different laws that govern them. And then evaluate all the fiscal processes, including vendor lists. So here's the one that's important, and you can pull it out of the left-hand side. I have a cheat sheet, and you do too, because to be honest with you, I can't see that, but I can read it. So you can pull it out on the left-hand side, and it's right behind, should be right behind the program, right behind it. So the summary of the auditor's result for this last year was, if you look under financial statements, it says types of auditor's report issued. It was unmodified. It was the auditor expressed that the financial statements are presented fairly in all respects. There was no, as far as the internal controls, there was no weaknesses identified, no significant deficiencies were identified. What you really want is all no's on this right-hand side. Then there was no non-compliance materials of the financial statements were noted. Then the next one is the federal awards, and that is also unmodified. And so there was no major weaknesses were identified, no significant deficiencies were identified. And there was no, on any audit there was no audit findings disclosed that are required to be reported in accordance with 2 CFR 200.516, and I won't even go into what that means, so take me too long. And then the identification of the major programs were the federal programs or WIO cluster, which is federal. And then the dollar threshold, if you have income of over $750,000, which we do, you have to have this audit. And so we have anywhere between 8 million to 15 million, depending on the economy, 15 million if we're in a deep recession. And then the one area that you want to yes, did CMJTS qualify as a low-risk auditee? The answer is yes. This is our 15th year of clean audits, which is extremely rare. That doesn't mean we're going to continue for another 15 years. I'm sure they can always find something, but I just wanted to let you know that this is our 15th year. Okay, next. This one I can't read either, but it's really important, so you can pull that one. It's right behind the audit, and this is the one that has all of our insurances. Whenever you have a nonprofit, you want to make sure that you have all of these schedule of insurances. I'm only going to take a look at 2 of them. So if you go down the blue line, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to come to policy type where it says management liability. And it'll say the insurance carrier is Carolina Casualty Insurance Company coverage. And right below it, it'll say director and officer's liability. This $2 million is what supports and keeps Commissioner Phobie from having any issues. So that's a $2 million policy. And then at the very bottom, where it says policy type cyber, this is our cybersecurity that you asked us to make sure that it was at a $2 million. We did that. But I can tell you with everything that's going on, that at some point in time over the next couple of years, I know you're going to come and ask me to raise it again, and I understand that. Right now, this is probably the number one thing that's happening. In fact, I got my computer, my phone, and everything hacked over the weekend, and I had lots of things to sign, and it's very messy, a lot of extra work. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but this is really our org chart for your reading pleasure. There's a large one in the back so you can read it. We have our corporate team, we have our program team, which you're going to be hearing from today, and then we have our business team. We are one of 3 in the state that actually has a business team. That's Stearns Benton and and CMJTS. We have the most of our team in the state. And I did this back in 2004, I believe, because I felt that we have so many businesses in our area that we needed to serve, that I couldn't just depend on one person from Deed to do it. So we have staff that also go out there, and it's been an amazing partnership with economic development and with local businesses. Okay, youth program success story. This is the best part. Okay, so I'm going to sit down and relax, and I'm gonna let my staff come up and introduce themselves.
Barb, maybe before that, does anyone have any questions on the dais? Or any comments? Okay.
I have one last thing before I sit down. I'm sorry. I just want to thank the fire department. Many of you have heard of the huge fire that was in Big Lake. That was my shop. It's humongous. And I was very fortunate to have a call, and I got out there soon, but it was already gone pretty much. But I have to tell you that we have the most amazing fire departments in our county. So bless them all for being there, and bless them because they thought my husband was inside. The neighbors saw it and called 911, and they thought my husband was inside. Thank the Lord, he was actually out working and had gone and left the building. So I am just very fortunate I can't say enough about them. They were all amazing. And then we got a second flash, and they thought they got it out from 4 o'clock to about midnight, had to come back, and still was there like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So thank them all. They're awesome. So.
Thanks, Barb.
All right, good morning, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. My name is Dina Warnes. I am one of the program managers at Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. And we're here this morning to share one of our success stories. And I will call your attention back to that org chart. If you look in the center column on the program services, at the very bottom, you'll see our Office Support 2 is Alexandra Hork, and that's who Maurice and Allie will be talking about this morning, one of our pretty exciting success stories. Briefly, I'll just share with you my role at CMJTS. I work with our program, specifically our WIOA Adult and Dislocated Worker Program, so individuals who are either unemployed, underemployed, or dislocated due to no fault of their own. Also work with our reentry grants, and we have reentry grants through all of our counties where we're helping individuals who are soon to be released from incarceration or who have been recently released. We're working with them to help develop their skills and help them promote themselves to get back into the workforce and fill some of those gaps that employers have. And then we also work with the SNAP Employment and Training Program, and specifically here in Sherburne County, we are your provider. So with that, we also have our youth programs. Maurice is one of our career navigators for our youth programs, and I'm going to have Maurice talk a little bit about what they do.
Thanks, Dina.
Hello and good morning. I'm Maurice. I am a career navigator for Sherburne County. And like Dina said, I help figure out what our youth need to do to be successful in work or soft skills building or everything that we can do to help them prepare for the work world. So today we have one of my youth that I've worked with for 2 years now, and she's come a long way, and I'm happy to have her share her success story.
Great.
Good morning. My name is Allie. I'm excited to be here and share my story of personal growth and success. It would not have been possible without the amazing organization and the opportunities provided by them. I first started my journey with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training as a participant in their programs. Picture this, it was the middle of the pandemic and I was a classroom teacher's aide. There wasn't much work for me. Eventually I found myself at a crossroads. I needed to find something else to do. I needed a new path. 2 summers ago, I applied online for some of the programs that Central Minnesota Jobs and Training offered. Once I was enrolled in the youth program with Maurice, we sat down and got to work figuring out what my transferable skills were, what I might need to work on, what training I could use, and most importantly, where do my interests lie? Maurice was very understanding. He was supportive, resourceful, and overall just there to support me and be there. He brought to my attention that there was work experience training, and that was a part of the youth program. He brought up that there was an open spot at the Minnesota office in Monticello. Quickly through my training, I learned that the programs were not just about acquiring skills. They were about empowering individuals to reach their full potential. I got to know many of the different people and the parts of multiple jobs that go on within the organization. I learned many new skills. I made lasting connections. Everyone at CMJTS was extremely encouraging, hardworking, enthusiastic, and overall just willing to be a part of my journey and everything going on. They genuinely invest in the success of each individual. The organization's commitment to fostering talent and providing opportunities for growth is truly commendable. The environment is indescribable, but in the best way. I am thrilled to say that the company's commitment to personal development and community betterment resonated deeply with me. I am thrilled to say that now my journey has come full circle, and I am now part of the team. I use my skills that I gained through the organization's training in order to achieve that. I am just one participant of many. We have become a better community through this organization. I am living proof that the investments made by the individuals in this company can resonate throughout the entire community. We are creating a cycle of success and empowerment. Together, we build a stronger community, and we give the tools to many to build a better life. We make a difference, and we try every day to connect with the community. Thank you for allowing me to come and share my story today.
Madam Chair, we hired her.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing your story, and thanks for that success
Thank you for
for
letting me
you.
come and share it. I really appreciate it.
So any other questions or comments? Central Minnesota Jobs and Training does a lot for people in our community. Barb and the staff are always trying to connect with our employers, our schools, our individuals to help make a difference in their life. So really appreciate the work that is done and comes out of the office. So, and thanks for being here today. There's a lot more information in your folders, so thanks for providing this. That will be reading material for all of you later. So,
Madam Chair?
yes, Commissioner Danielowski.
I just wanted to say I agree with everything you said, and I also want to thank the Workforce Training Center and all of your work and your leadership, because I do know you've been around a long time in our area. You're very well known, and you are usually the first place that anyone will go to when they find themselves, for whatever reason, out of a job and needing to look in a different direction, and you guys are always there to help them. Some people don't have the ability to understand what the modern world is doing. If you've worked in a job for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden you find yourself without one, how do you go about applying these days? What are the businesses looking for? And you guys provide that education and the equipment necessary if someone doesn't have access to even a computer. So thank you for what you do in making sure that we have people that can find employment and go on and be fruitful and live their lives.
Thank you so much. We're honored to be here.
Thank you.
And I would suggest also, just as a commissioner and to all of us, that we can be ambassadors for the program and partners and connecting people or businesses or, when you're out visiting businesses and anything, it's a great to be that conduit that connects them to Central Minnesota Jobs and Trainings, I believe is part of our job too, and our staff. And I know our staff does that. And so take that on a bit. If you hear of an individual or meet someone that needs a little help with something or a business, take it on. So that's my challenge to us today. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to item number 2, review, receive, and accept our auditor treasurer's monthly report. Ms. Diane Arnold will join us.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. Before you is my report for October of 2023. I am happy to report that our investment earnings that we have earned to date are well over our budget amount. So right now we're at $2,369,266.41. I am expecting that we'll be close to $3 million mark on our investment earnings. So by the end of the year, so that is really good news. So we're ahead of last year's already by $1,106,085. Included in the October balance sheet, which is on your the first page in there, under the county revenue on the Fund 1. That also includes in there the recorder's compliance unallocated account. So that fund balance is $481,892. So that's included in that amount in there. The next page that we've got, that gives you all the auditor treasurer report of our cash balance, our interest received, our collections and disbursements for the year to date. The following page on there gives you the information with the pie charts and stuff as to where all of our investments are located and doing a comparison just from 2022 to 2023. Then we move into the 5th page on there, and that one is just giving you the location as to where all the funds are located into which entities that we have them on. Moving on to our executive report that is in this report for you is our functional budget to actual review. And this gives you a year-to-date for the expenditures and revenues that are collected and expended by function for the board. And this is a report that's done on a modified accrual. Following that, I provided for you the 2023 actual tax rates and comparing that to the 2024 proposed tax rates. As you know, the truth in taxation proposed notices went out in the mail. They did go out on the 13th of November. Our phones started ringing the following day, so they were out there. We also will be, and that, as you know, the Truth and Taxation meeting is on the 30th of November at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. To also give you an update is that our tax settlement for period 2, this is going to be posted by the end of November, so the payouts to the towns, cities, and special districts will be made on the 30th of November. The school districts have received their estimate payout already, so that's why the school district fund in their balance sheet is overdrawn. So that will balance out after we get the posting and stuff done of the second period payout. And then also wanted to just draw to your attention to that the state general tax payout that we pay out to the state that's being paid out of Fund 81, which is our taxes and penalties. Over $2,822,000 is paid directly to the state of Minnesota for collecting taxes for them as well. And as I mentioned, the proposed notices have been mailed out, and all the information and stuff is there for you. And the meeting will be on the 30th of November. Does anyone have any questions for the information that I provided to you?
Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Danielowski.
thank you for this report and update, Diane. And just for clarification purposes, our meeting on November 30th will be in regards to our portion of that property tax.
Correct, the county's portion of the budget, yeah.
And if you look at the back of what was the proposed information, it will give you the information for each government entity and what their dates are, the school
Yes.
district
Yep.
and the cities. I just wanted to make that clarification, that
Okay.
we are just a piece of what got mailed out.
Correct, we are. Because each of the other entities then hold their own meetings. I did provide to you as well the dates for the Truth and Taxation budget comment meetings, the times and locations for each of those entities that will be holding those. The townships will not be holding a budget notice. They set their budgets in March, and so they're not required to hold a public meeting.
And their budgets are set during their annual meeting where
Correct.
the body votes on that.
Yep,
So that's the
exactly.
reason for that.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Hulse.
just a question on the actual to date pages. So if I look at actual to date on expenditures at 110 versus 187, do you have an estimate at this point for a year-end number?
For year end, well,
On
compared to
expenditures?
what our
Compared to
budget
budget.
is what we're expecting to make it for expenditures you're talking about?
Yeah.
So
Because
that
it looks
would-
like we're well underspent.
We're under right now, correct. But usually it's November, December, they're trying to get things taken care of before the end of the year, so that amount is going to change.
Are these numbers? Oh, these numbers are through the end of October, so.
Correct.
So, got it, okay.
Yep, they're just comparing Octobers from one year to the other year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments or questions? I too want to reiterate that our Truth and Taxation meeting will be focused on the county tax portion. The county has the privilege to send those notices out to people because of how it's set up in our state.
Right.
So even though it says Sherburne County all over it, there's a lot of information in there if people look at every detail. And my county taxes went down, so. Any other
bragging.
questions or comments?
No bragging allowed.
Just a note there, it looks like all other TNT meetings are after ours except for the city of Big Lake. Theirs is before, so, we can make sure that people have that information at our meeting, but if they're from Big Lake, they may have missed that opportunity.
Just, Madam Chair,
Commissioner Halls?
just for my own personal knowledge, is it possible, on the 2024 tax rate page, is that report available, or would that be able to be sorted by total tax rate rather than by entity? So I could see a sort of a high to low?
This is set out how it comes off from our tax system.
Yeah.
So we put it in as it's sorted that way because it's easier to compile the report, and then it's easier to do a comparison.
Yep.
You're looking to do
I just want to see, I just kind of want to see a total tax rate, high to low, within the county of all those entities. Can that be resorted? Is it a Excel form?
well, it's set blocks in there, so you can't resort that.
Okay.
But we can take a look at it and see what we can do.
Well, I can try to OCR it too and put it in Excel. It might take a little bit of work, but.
So something like this is
Yeah.
what you're looking for? Yeah, and that's kind of what I had asked for a while
Yeah.
back from you.
And you got that
Our-
one. I sent that to you.
Yeah,
So
so
I
I
can
think
se-
that's what he's asking for.
I can send that out to all of the commissioners.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And that included all the cities and townships in
Correct.
Sherburne,
Yep,
correct? That you
it
sent
did.
to me. Yep, I think that's what you're asking for, Andrew.
I will do that.
Any others?
Madam
Commissioner
Chair?
Danielowski.
Thank you. One other thing to point out is this is preliminary, so every entity that has set their preliminary tax levy, they can go down. There is opportunity for those numbers to go down. That's up to each jurisdiction. Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is an action item, so what is the wish of the board?
I move to approve the report.
Commissioner Felber moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Danielowski. Any other discussion? Thanks, Diane. for
Thank you
this.
very much.
As always, thank your staff also. So you're welcome. Thanks. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. Moving on to agenda item number 3. ARPA with Mr. Dan Weber.
Good morning, Commissioners. This week, we have a couple of biweekly expenses that are under the $25,000 threshold. Then we have a broadband request, which would be a transfer of funds from one project to another. And then I'll give a quick ARPA summary when we're done of where we're at. So first, we have 2 expenses to discuss approval. We do audit each of our expenses each year, and that is done by an outside source. So we're looking for $13,800 to cover our audit over the next several years. And then my time is also reimbursed, so that is also on the list of approvals. For any time I deal with ARPA, I track those hours and we do get reimbursed. So looking for approval of $22,473.60 for those 2 projects.
So is there a motion?
I would move to approve that.
Commissioner Felber moves,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danielowski. Any questions or comments? Who is the auditor? SLFR?
Larson Allen.
What?
The acronym is State and Local Federal Relief Fund. That's the official state or the federal government's title for the larger pot of money that funds ARPA.
Okay, thank you. Others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion has carried.
The second request is to transfer money from one broadband project to another. We did have an OROC project that was approved a couple years ago, and that came in about $35,000 under budget. They would now like to apply for a deed border-to-border grant and for us to be a partner in that. So they'd like to reallocate that $35,000 to that project. That would only be if the deed awards the border-to-border grant. So at this time, they're just looking for a commitment letter that we would be willing to partner on that project if necessary.
Seemed to make sense to me. So what is the wish of the board?
I would move to approve that, and I'm going to add that it's fantastic that they're getting this done, and we're coming in under budget. We're able to keep. It'll be nice to have this broadband wrapped up soon. It'll be great.
Motion made by Commissioner Felber,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Gray. Any other questions or comments? The letter was in your packet to review there, so I think we are set.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Danielowski.
I'd like to recognize too that it's nice to see that this project will serve 240 addresses as well. That's a good number to see when you're improving the broadband.
It's great. Yep. Okay, any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion has carried.
And then Keisha, if you could bring up that slide with the buckets. I just wanted to give a summary of where we're at with ARPA right now. We were allocated about $19 million, and we have 18.8 approximately allocated to projects. That doesn't mean we've spent that much yet, but that they are placeholders for projects. So we have a little over $200,000 that are left. I will have a couple small requests that are coming up in December and a couple in January. So we should have about $150,000 left after those requests. So we do have some wiggle room if some projects come in a little over budget, or we have an emergency project that we need some funding to take care of. So there is some wiggle room, and we have to expend that by the end of 2024.
We have to expend it by the end of 20?
We have to have it allocated by 2024 and
Allocated.
spent by 2026. Thank you for the
That's,
clarification.
thanks for that timeline. Yep, that's what I understood, so.
So does anyone have any questions on that? You'll notice the majority of the funding has gone to public safety, a little over 3 million. Broadband was another recipient. And then Parks has also been awarded several projects.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, thanks, Dan, for that update.
Thank you.
So, moving on to Commissioner Correspondence Committee reports, upcoming meetings, future agenda items. Who would like to start?
Madam Chair?
What have you been up to? Yes, Commissioner Hulse.
Yeah, so we had a number of events over the last couple of weeks. The biggest and most significant, which we talked about it a couple of times, is the housing summit that we had on the 8th, and that, from my perspective, was a tremendous success. It's just step one in a number of steps that we have to take in order to figure out how we're going to address the housing needs in the county. But we had a tremendous participation from the community. I think we had, if you broke it down by professions, we had a large number of realtors, a large number of builders, a large number of developers, all participating and of course, folks from the county as well. So it was nice to hear everyone's voice and what their concerns are and what the challenges are we have moving forward in addressing the housing situation in the county in order to make things, in order to meet the housing needs over the next decade. Second, reviewed our county tax abatement policy for businesses, and that led to a number of action items. So that was a separate meeting. We had our Economic Development Authority meeting as well, following up from the Housing Authority, and that's going to be the housing concern is going to be the major focus over the next couple of months. Reason being is that in order to drive economic development, we also have to have workers in the county. So we have to be competitive on where we can provide housing and compared to our neighbors. And then I had a monthly meeting along with Commissioner Felber with Representative Emmer, where we've got a monthly meeting set up with him to go over policy and how they can help. And then finally, I had a big constituent event. Had about 30 attendees last Thursday, and that was also a great success. Lots of questions, but people had just started receiving their truth in taxation notices, so there were lots of discussions around what's happening with property taxes, and rightly so. That's it for me.
November 7th, I had a law library meeting. Basically, we approved the 2024 budget and followed that meeting with a strategic planning meeting for pillar number 4 in our strategic plan, which relates to our government entity process, how we communicate with our public, and different things we can do to streamline processes. We discussed doing lean events throughout the county and the different departments and stuff. So it was a really good meeting for an update on that pillar. November 8th, I had our Central Mississippi River Partnership bylaws team meeting. We're going over the bylaws that we're looking to create for when we do go into being a nonprofit. So there's more to come on that. So we're just getting those things streamlined with some of the changes that some of the partners were wanting to see in that document. Also, as was mentioned already by Commissioner Hulls, the Sherburne County Housing Summit. I totally concur with him. That was just a great success, and it really, really told me that there's a lot of people that are interested in how we can come and figure out how to solve our housing needs and truly our housing shortages because of not enough available lots. Supply and demand is driving. We don't have enough housing. We're about 25%, I want to say, in regards to being on the low end of available houses for sale. And when we all know the market will, if there is not enough supply, demand will be high, that'll push prices up. So we need to really work on how we can work with our townships and our cities in getting those available lots out there. And then followed that by, popped into the NACO Economic and Workforce Development Zoom meeting. And that is just a lot of good discussion across the country. We are not, this is an issue that's across the country. Everybody is dealing with workforce shortages and how do you figure out to get the workforce needs of what our businesses need to be successful. And then attended the open house for the Pell Study. They had a pop-up open house. The Pell Study is what the Central Mississippi River Partnership Group is getting started. It's a federal requirement in studying where you are going to have a river crossing. And as we all know, this has been in the works for a long time to come, but we're finally at the Pell level. It still will take a couple of years because followed by the Pell study, then that kicks off an environmental study as to where a bridge crossing would land between Wright County and Sherburne County in the Highway 25 area. Also attended the Big Lake Township meeting that evening, and then after that, I was able to attend a Veterans Day event that was honoring and learning more about the veterans fly-in, the DC fly-in events that they did. They are probably no longer going to be doing those anymore because the people that are attending them are getting of the age where it's getting harder and harder to get them flown into DC to be able to see these monuments and stuff. But just really cool to see what it is that they've done over time. Got an update as to we have, at the federal level, we have a group that continues to look. No person is left behind, and when they have the opportunity to recover remains in different countries, there's a whole process that goes on to identify who that fallen soldier is and get their family notified and such. So they're encouraging anybody that has a family member that has been lost in a war on foreign soil to get DNA testing done so they can have it in their databases to be able to, when they are able to test for someone, they can connect them with their families then and take care of them being buried. And after that, then November 9th, I had a Transportation Alliance annual meeting. Commissioner Gray and I attended that with Andrew Witter. We did that by Zoom and found that a lot of great information that comes out of the Transportation Alliance group. Also had an APO board meeting up in St. Cloud that late afternoon, November 10th. Attended the Serve Big meeting at the Big Lake Schools, which is regarding youth homelessness and all that we do to come together to try to support the needs of our youth that are experiencing homelessness and making sure that we can work to keep them successfully in school to get them to graduation. Also attended the Veterans Day program at the high school. It was a really, really great recognition of our veterans that the school did. And November 16th had an EDA meeting, and Commissioner Hulls had referenced what that discussion was, and it is a lot to do with our housing and our need to figure out how we can make progress there for our workforce. Also had County Family Resource Center meeting, where we're working to get 2 resource centers in Sherburne County. Right now, looking at the Big Lake area and the Elk River area. So we're really there's a lot of good people involved in making that a reality. Also had a tax abatement subcommittee meeting, and Commissioner Hulls referred to that. November 20th, attended a Zoom meeting, Understanding Cannabis in the 21st Century. And let me tell you, just wow. It is not what people think of the old days. It is a whole different, great speaker. I will work to get the web address when they will post that. They recorded that presentation, and it's just eye-opening as to cannabis as a plant. Everything else that comes of that we're now moving into is a drug. And we need to recognize the difference and really get on top of how we're going to make sure that we're promoting legislation and oversight. Because right now, it's just the wild, wild west. That's it.
Okay, so, let's see, on the 8th, I started out with the Metropolitan Emergency Services Board. I'm talking about radios. Probably the most important part of that we got out of there is that there is right now, in terms of the systems they're trying to put in, there's about a structural deficit of about $500 million for outstate that they're hoping the state will correct, because there is a budget surplus still and there's a lot of one-time money. But they're $500 million short for necessary radio services in the outstate area. One of the things we talked about is you can call 911 via home Wi-Fi in Microsoft Teams. The problem with that is that it doesn't show the location information. So when people do that, they don't really know where this 911 call is coming from. They're working on trying to fix that. That was a very interesting concept I hadn't thought of before. Then we did the Housing Summit, which I found very interesting. The pieces that came out of that resonated the most with me was that one of the things they mentioned that they would like to see would be reductions in regulation, which I'm always in favor of. And the other thing that concerned me was there's a very, very big push for 1-acre lots outside in the townships or near the cities. My concern on that would be what's going to happen to the aquifer when we punch that many wells into it. So I probably will be pestering our hydrologists in the next month or so to try to get some more information on that, so I have a better understanding of what the effect that could be. But I could see where going with that smaller lot will make everything a lot more affordable and allow us more housing. I just have to make sure I have some concerns about that. I do sit through the Council for Foreign Relations webinars when they come up. It's not really always something that applies to the county, but I find it to be good information. I sat through one on Hamas this last month, and I sat through one on anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States. Those are both really good things. If you can go to their website, there's a lot of good information on it. 11/14 to the 15th, the State Towards Zero Death Conference. I didn't attend because I'm trying to sort out which of these conferences is the best use of tax dollars. And that particular conference, I will be able to look at all the materials online as soon as they're posted. So I've got 2 or 3 days of reading coming up this month as those things come out. So, but I think it makes more sense that way. I went to the Sherburne County Extension Committee. The big thing coming out of that is we're looking for someone for District 2, and we're looking for somebody from at large to actually sit on that committee. So if you have friends that are farming in those areas, or interested in farming, or interested in 4-H, or interested in anything that the County Extension Committee does, talk to them, because we're looking for people. And there was a really good discussion about farm mental health, and there's been some seminars on that in the state, which is a really good deal. I went to the Becker Township meeting. Probably the most important thing I saw out of that is that the city of Becker is annexing 295 acres, 295 acres of XL land into the city of Becker from the township, and that's to try to facilitate economic development on that land. So there'll be some economic development, trying to bring some more businesses out there. Hopefully all that works out. With Commissioner House already covered the meeting with Emmer, and the only other thing I have is that I got some information after the last meeting that said it seemed like I didn't understand what was actually happening with the I'm hunting for a word now, for the comprehensive plan. But actually, I mean, I just want to assure everyone that I had read the previous comprehensive plan. I read every draft of the comprehensive plan that came out. Went through them more than once each, and the objections that I had to the comprehensive plan were ones that I had the entire time. Nothing actually changed on some of those areas, although some parts that I had objections to in the early part did change. So I just want to assure people that I really did spend the time, and I had read those, and I had been attending meetings on the comprehensive plan since they were being offered. And I guess that's about it.
Sure, great.
We touched on it already, November 8th, the Housing Summit. One of the people they didn't mention, listening to King Banyan talk, the economic forecaster from St. Cloud State. He's always fascinating to me. Attended the MICA board meeting by Zoom on the November 8th. Rayanne already touched on the Transportation Alliance meeting by Zoom with the Public Works Department. A couple of us went to the Elk River Chamber Award Luncheon, where one of our employees, Jessica Barthel, got Volunteer of the Year Award, which I thought was tremendous. Two Inlets, Bada, Hadaka, Amatsgus, Zagan, Zaganza. I attended we had a tour out there for the Trust for Public Lands, which helped facilitate the purchasing of that land, which I thought was great. And we had another meeting for Two Inlets the next day. So the board went and we met on that. 16th, I had the Soil and Water Conservation Board meeting, and we replaced one board member moved on. Zach Wood-Thomson took a different position, so he resigned from the SWCD, and we filled that with Josh Clems from out in Blue Hill. So that's great. The GSDC luncheon in St. Cloud was another awards banquet. Met and talked with the mayor of St. Cloud, Dave Kleiss, in regards to getting together with him and the city of St. Cloud. The CEC meeting, Greg touched on that, finding an open position. I think I filled one as of last night. So one of the at-large ones has moved on. I think we moved someone from that was at-large to District 1, and then the at-large position opened up so we could fill that with someone that I had in mind. Then I attended the Haven Town Board meeting, which was 3.5 hours last night. A lot of good discussion, a lot of good talk, but it was in regards to a lot about nitrates and groundwater and farming and things like that. So right up my wheelhouse, but it was a good meeting, I thought, by all. That was all I had.
Okay, and while you were all at the Housing Summit, I was at the Zimmerman Business Council, their chamber up in Zimmerman. Individual from the Better Business Bureau presented, who lives up in the Zimmerman area. Then I went down to the MICA meeting, and the Commissioner of Revenue presented, Paul Markwart. Spent some time with us, and a couple asks that he had of county commissioners, especially with the generous child tax credit that's coming out, $17.50 per person. What's really important is people, in order to get that, you have to have filed your taxes. So wanting to make sure our HHS people are making sure they're checking with people, and all of us too, about if you know people that would benefit from that and maybe perhaps aren't filing their taxes. That's the important piece. And the Department of Revenue will have a tax toolkit on their website to help with that. And he was a great speaker at MICA. And then the rest of MICA spent working on our legislative platform for this next year. Attended a Shack coffee conversation and collaboration on cannabis legalization. They're going to be doing those quarterly or monthly, just with different topics. And so joined on with that. Met with the Commissioner of Transportation, Nancy Daubenberger, along with Andrew Witter and Bruce, just to talk about 169 and 4 and the gap in funding that we need there. So talk to her about options of the $15 million dollars that we need. And then that evening was at the Anoka Ramsey Community College in front of the Senate Bonding Committee. Senator Andrew Matthews joined us there, so it was really good. Talked about, again, the gap on funding and the $15 million that we need from them. So had a really good meeting with them. Went to the Elk River Chamber Business of the Year. Congratulations to Jessica. She really represents Sherburne well. Toured 2 inlets at Bede Hahaka, Amashkus, Zaagagans with the Trust for Public Land, and we are highlighted in their book, so I'll pass that around. That's where the Post-it note is. It was fun to meet the group that helped us acquire that land, and also the next day, and Senator Matthews also joined us at that tour, and that was his first time at the land, so it was good to have the senator out there. Had the 2 inlets meeting the next day with the Park Development Committee. Things are progressing really nicely with 2 inlets. AMC Futures was last Thursday and Friday. I chair that group. It was my last time chairing, 3 years of chairing. We met out at Camp Ripley and focused solely on veterans, and it was probably one of our best meetings. John Baker is the new executive director for our State Department of Veterans. The governor's office has decided to have a state association like AMC. So John Baker is that first executive director. John authored veterans legislation that I carried when I was in the Senate, so I got to reconnect with him after 12, 14 years, and he works hard on behalf of veterans all the time. So it was great and really highlighted all the things available for veterans through our CVSO offices. And the last thing is TRICAP. We've met a number of times, the executive, the search committee, searching for a new executive director. That position has been posted now, so if you know of anyone that would make a really good new CAP director for TRICAP, please send them my way. I should send the posting out to each of you, but that is posted now. And that is it. Administrator Messelt had.
Thank you, Madam Chairman of this commission. Just a quick reminder too, I passed over the board meeting, remember, on the 7th, which is that Thursday, the next board meeting. I failed to mention that we will also have a special public hearing at that board meeting regarding the Big Elk Lake, or Big Eagle Lake Improvement District request. So just want to make sure you're aware and the community is aware. That's when that public hearing will be. So it's part of your December 7th board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? It's been a busy month for all of us, it seems. With that, we're going to recess our regular meeting and take a break, and when we come back, we will open our Community Health Board meeting. So it is 10:18. Let's come back at about 10:30 to reconvene. So we are now in recess. and open our Community Health Board meeting. So I call that meeting to order. And first item on the agenda is to approve the proposed agenda. So that's an action item.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion's made by Commissioner Danielowski,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Felber. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. And then moving on into the regular agenda, the first item is to review and approve the Community Health Board meeting minutes from September 19th. So that is an action item, and those were in your packet.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Hulls,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Danielowski. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. Moving on to agenda item 3.4, that of the Community Health Services Administrator's update. With Ms. Nicole Ruhoff. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners. Not a real big update today, but I thought we could review a bit of the highlights from the Shack Retreat. I know Commissioner Gray got to attend one day, and Commissioner Foba, you were in many other places at that time. So just a couple of things that I think really highlight where we're at with local public health and our division work at this time. We've been talking about foundational public health responsibilities for some time, and so that continued conversation is very robust at this point. They gave us an update of some of the conversations that they've been having. We do have representatives from the Department of Health, the Local Public Health Association, which are local public health staff and association staff, and then 3 county commissioners. Commissioner Clark from Stearns County, which most of you know, has been really integral. She's the chair of SHAC this year, and so she's really been a leader in trying to figure out where is it that we need to go with public health, especially in light of where we had been during our pandemic response. And then we also learned from some other states who are a bit ahead of us. So Washington and Ohio presented on some of their findings and how they've restructured and reformulated some of their funding and really supported work to be shifted to those foundational public health responsibilities and a little bit less on the services that kind of were a focus of the last probably 20 years where we really needed to fill in gaps in the healthcare industry. So looks a little bit different, and I'll be curious to see where we go in the future. And then the cost and capacity assessment, which all of our counties participated in, really is a robust survey of where we were at a point in time from 2021. There was a legislative report released. I think it's probably 20 pages. The entire report is about 150 pages, so way too much to dig into. But really what we are focusing on is the gaps that were identified, and this is both locally and statewide. So data and epidemiology, we definitely have gaps within our system, policy development and support, and health equity. Another component of the retreat was a highlight from 3 of the innovative grant awardees, and so they talked about their innovative approach to public health, and as you can see, these kind of relate to a lot of our gaps. So a regional data model from those in Olmsted County, so they are piloting what it looks like to do data and epidemiology analysis across the region. Countryside and Horizon Public Health have been looking at communication capabilities and what that looks like across those different organizations. And both of those public health agencies are comprised of 5 or more local public health county governments. So an interesting structure for them to partner with. And I think the most exciting one, oh, go ahead.
Well, and where are they located? Countryside, is that where area?
Yellow Medicine, Swift, Lacaparle, all of those. You're nodding. Yes. Horizon is the Alexandria area, so Douglas, the 4 counties there, I believe, 4 or 5 counties there. The most exciting one for me was the health trends across communities in Minnesota, and that's a partnership between almost every large health care system in Minnesota, so CentraCare, Fairviews, Alinas, where they are releasing a data platform in early 2024, so probably March-ish, that has 28 indicators that pull from each of the electronic health records in real time. And you can use that data then to kind of slice and dice it by gender, by income, by zip code, by pay source, so we can really have data that's not 2 or 3 years old to help inform choices about, where do we need to focus our time and energy and resources. Some of those 28 things are definitely under substance use, so opioids, alcohol, meth, cocaine, THC, and others. Mental health is depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, psychotic disorders, and suicide. Chronic conditions like hypertension, obesity, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, coronary artery disease, maternal child health, so morbidity and maternal opioid use, which we really haven't had a lot of real-time data on that. It's usually down the road when we see that the child may be having some developmental delays. So this should help identify things earlier. And then other are gun violence and climate change. And so I'm not quite sure what those look like, but curious to see when that's released. And then the last workshop we had was about the 2 loops of system change, and I'm not sure if people are familiar with this, but it really talks about if we're thinking about system change, what are some of the things we might want to consider? Who are the players in how that happens, and kind of what's the natural rhythm of that? So this is a map of just a big picture map of how change happens. The model is based on the natural rhythm of change processes and allows each individual to identify where they are, and others are on the map. And recognizing there are many different roles, people will move in and out of roles over time. So we're thinking about the public health system and how we're definitely, everything is fine was one component of public health, and we've kind of ventured into that first loop where we're saying, Houston, there's a problem. And some are even saying, holy cats, there might be even a bigger problem than we realized. And so then there's this group of trailblazers who say, we've identified a problem, we think that there are some potential solutions we should explore, and they form a network, a community of practice. And then hopefully in the next year or so, we'll find that we've got a new system that we really want to highlight and bring forth to the decision makers to see if that's the direction we head. But you could really apply this 2 loops model to any type of system change. So it just really resonated, I think, with a lot of players in the room to think, well, why are we doing this? And, all things have a peak and then tend to die off. And so what do you do when that dies off? You recreate something new. And then I've been talking a lot about funding, and we're a little bit closer. So during the legislative process, there were 3 appropriations for public health. The first one for state emergency preparedness funding has finally been allocated. So there was a formula funding group through the SHAC committee and local public health. And the formula is based on a 20% base, 62% based on population, 10% if you're a multi-county board, and then 8% on the social vulnerability index. And so when those formulas are applied to Sherburne County, we will see an award of $126,848. And that's on top of our current award, which is $85,000. So a significant increase in our public health emergency preparedness response grant funding.
And Nicole, when can we expect that?
So the contracts are being reviewed by the Commissioner of Health now, and we should see them within the next month or so.
Okay, thank you.
The second one is underway, so public health system transformation, there was money allocated for that as well. The group has been meeting diligently, but they are kind of at a point where I believe this is their funding formula that they're proposing, but it hasn't been proposed to the whole SHAC work group yet. So that will be coming in early December. They took a little bit of a different approach, so there's definitely a base fund. But they really highlighted the social vulnerability index, so those counties who are struggling more with more health disparities would get more awarded. And then if your population is less than 100,000, there's also additional money because of the economies of scale that they researched really said if you were under 100,000, you really had less capability to deliver those services, but over 100,000, the chances were much better. So that's kind of what it's looking like. Again, this isn't final, but this has been proposed. So depending on what census information they have, whether Sherburne County is under 100,000 or over 100,000, My guess is we will either get another $130,000 or about 170, depending on that social vulnerability index. Since we do rank fairly high with health in Sherburne County, that social vulnerability index is lower for us. One other, I'm sure, component that you've noticed is the 75% match. So like our local public health grant, that requires a local match. This one will also require a local match. But when we review our budget allocations for the public health division, we will meet that with our current levy allocations that we are currently receiving. Sherburne County's been generous in their levy allocations to public health. And then the last one is for state cannabis funding, and that's really for prevention work around cannabis. And the timeline for that is that it will start in July of 2024, and there is no funding formula group established for this one yet. So I would anticipate once we get those other two solidified and approved, then we'll move into the cannabis, and we'll see what kind of allocation there is for that. Any questions or any of those funding formulas or allocations?
Any questions? Commissioner Danielewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will be getting copies of the slide presentation?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Others? Okay, well, thanks for the report, Nicole. This is not an action item. This is just for discussion and presentation, so appreciate the information.
I'll just make note too, we do have 2 positions open, so we filled one of our 3 part-time positions. Actually, we filled 2 of them, and then the employee needed to resign based on some family conflicts. But we've put those both on hold as we're really looking at the funding allocations coming in, and we're gonna do a retreat here at the end of the month to really kind of lay out what it is that we need, what it is that we have funding for, and how we could maybe reallocate some of our current structure to help meet the needs better.
I think, Madam Chair, if you're willing to, probably do a motion a second to receive and accept the report.
Okay, so let's make this an action item that we received and accept the report.
So move.
Motion's made by Commissioner Gray,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Felber. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion has carried. And with that, we'll adjourn our Community Health Board meeting and reconvene and open our workshop. And I'm going to recommend we go into the back room. Oh, stay in this room.
Yeah, we have,
for-
just with the
got
tech
it.
for
Okay.
AI, it's, I think Brian's set up in here. so
Okay,
I'm just
sounds
gonna give
good.
it-
We will maybe convene in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just going to text him here. so.
Okay, great. Whenever Brian gets here.